Why does the church insist on doing things that were expressly forbidden in the early part of the church, but now they've made commonplace? Even when Joseph Smith said it was an error when other people were trying to do it. Well, what I'm talking about today is the apostleship of the 70, which is supposed to be a quorum equal in authority to the apostles, or the quorum of the 12 apostles, who are all supposed to be elders, not high priests.
Apostleship of the 70. Why does the Church say this? An announcement that members of the First Council of 70 of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had been ordained high priests to give them power to set in order all things pertaining to the Church as they visit among the stakes and missions was made Sunday morning in the Salt Lake Tabernacle. De. News, June 12, 1961. When in the literature of the Church they say this, and they, 70s, form a quorum, equal in authority to that of the 12 special witnesses or apostles just named. D and C. 107, 26. This day the Council of the 70 met to tender an account of their travels and ministry, since they were ordained to that apostleship. Joseph Smith, D.H.C., 2, 346. He, Brigham Young, stated that the 70s are ordained apostles, and when they go forth into the ministry they are sent with power to build up the kingdom in all the world, and consequently have power to ordain high priests, and also to ordain and organize a high council. Manuscript History of Brigham Young, December 14, 1845. He, Parley P. Pratt, further stated that the difference between the authority of the 70s and the high priests was this: the high priests possessed the high priesthood, but the 70s possessed the high priesthood and the apostleship, which was the highest power on the earth or in the church. Nouveau Record Book B, p. 226. The 70s are apostles, and they stand next in authority to the 12. Brigham Young, De. News, June 6, 1877, p. 274. Today. Note, it would be wrong to ordain a man a high priest after he already held the apostleship of the 70. Joseph Smith warned us in one of his last statements before he was murdered. If any man writes to you, or preaches to you, doctrines contrary to the Bible, the Book of Mormon, or the Book of Doctrine and Covenants, set him down as an impostor. Joseph Smith. Times and Seasons. April 1, 1844.
I've already covered the 70s in the past. It's quite a ways back in my video list, but the apostles are meant to be elders. And when, in Joseph Smith's day, they had called 70s who had already been ordained as high priests, the calling of 70s was given to another, because you cannot be a 70 if you are a high priest. High priests are stationary in their authorities. They stay in one place. The elders, the 70s who are apostles, who are elders, they actually travel. And the 70s are a quorum equal in authority to the 12 apostles, and they are supposed to go out and prepare the way for the apostles to go and minister among the nations of the earth. So they're there to, like, be a John the Baptist, to lay the foundation, to gather a people, and then the 12 are supposed to go into those places and preach the gospel to the people who the 70 have gathered. In fact, there are statements in the early history of the church that okay, there are statements in among the church leaders in the early portion of the Restoration that talk about how the apostles in the 70s aren't even supposed to have homes in Zion. They're supposed to be traveling. I guess they could have homes for their families, but they're supposed to be doing more traveling than they are being at home. The high priests are the ones who are supposed to be over the wards and branches of Zion in the stakes and all of that, or in the presidency of the church. They stay in one place and do the ministry that they're supposed to do, but they're not supposed to be elders. I mean, they're not supposed to be high priests. So, and the only reason I added that quote by Joseph Smith at the end is if they contradict the Bible, the Book of Mormon, or the Doctrine and Covenants. But I also would say if they contradict Joseph Smith or the early leaders of the Restoration, um, but especially Joseph Smith, you got to set them down as imposters. See, Joseph Smith laid the foundation for Zion to be redeemed. But the servants that have come after him, they have torn up the foundation. They have flipped over the rocks, and they're doing their own thing, which, like they're trying to, I don't know, restore something that never was, like, I don't know. It's just, oh, I don't understand why people think they can just change everything, but it is what it is, I guess. So, thanks for watching. One other thing, in the Deseret News, that was the first quote. They stated that the 70s were ordained high priests so that they could set in order the house of God anywhere they went, but they already had that power as elders because they had been ordained to the apostleship, which the church doesn't even talk about anymore because the 70s aren't apostles, even though the Restoration, Joseph Smith, said that they were. So, just one more thing for us to all think about. 70s are apostles. There is two quorums of apostles. There's the 70s and the quorum of the 12 apostles, and then the presidency of the 70s, their apostles, and the presidency of the church, their apostles. So I guess there's four quorums if you want to look at it that way, but still, you know, it is what it is. I'm just letting you know what was once taught, which is not taught anymore. We need to get back to the foundation of the Restoration, not be trying to flip over the stones and tear it all up.